What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Collective Podcast. You know, guys, today, Shane and I are going to tackle a subject that, if I'm being honest, I'm kind of excited for, but I'm also nervous about what we're going to actually say since we don't typically plan out every word. But guys, here's
Bro,
what
we
was.
don't ever plan out every
I
word.
was
Not
trying to give
typically.
us
Listen,
a
if
little
we're
bit
gonna
of
talk about
benefit.
what we're gonna talk about, we got to be
That's
fully
true.
honest. Like
That's true.
we can just start with that.
You're right.
That'd be great.
You're right. We planned this episode exactly 84 seconds ago. And guys, here it is. It is the conversation around integrity. Because, I think it's a word that it gets thrown around very flippantly, and I think it's easy for people to say that they have it. But what really matters is that is it lived out? Is it also present in all areas of your life? And so, Shane, I think there's going to be a lot of people that, and us included, that are going to benefit from a conversation about what does it look like to operate as a man or woman of integrity in business.
Well, and I would add that even if you're listening to this rolling your eyes because you don't think it's impactful for your business, you've seen and I have seen how people of integrity are just more successful, like holistically, than those that aren't. And so I think,
I think the keyword there was holistically,
and that was intentional because we take that word success and we just instantly monetize it. Oh, Kyle made 1 million, I made 2 million, I'm more successful. But if you made 1 and I made 2, I get divorced, my daughter doesn't like me, and my health isn't great. Who was really more successful? And so I think this is important because we've all had times in our lives where our integrity has maybe left us, maybe waned a little bit. And that's not right or wrong. That's reality. And so it's important to not only dig in on this, but also even better define what it means to have integrity in business. It's not just selling a product and always being honest about what you're selling. It's about managing your team. It's about owning your emotion. I mean, there's so many layers to this. So I'm really excited to dig in.
Yeah, I would give this 2 definitions. I think part of integrity is being honest no matter what. I think that's one part. And I've got a story for me to kind of illustrate what that looks like for me. And then I think the other side of the word integrity is like, who are you when no one's watching? And that's the hardest part because, again, there's not a scorecard for that part because no one knows that other than you. And so the underlying part of this as well that we'll dig into is, you and I run a company called The Collective Coaching that's centered around sales and marketing. And I've said this for a really long time, that if who you are in person and online aren't the same, you'll always struggle on social media. And so when people aren't high men and women of integrity and they are living a little bit differently over here than they are over here, it gets really hard to show up online and have a narrative to your life when you're kind of different versions of yourself in all the different pockets you exist in.
Well, and I think those 2 different definitions of integrity, one is more of an internal and one is more external, right? Are you letting down yourself or are you letting down others, right? And I think that both are important to understand because one could get on this and say, I tell the truth to people. I'm honest, like I'm kind, I'm not rude. When I have a bad day, I own it. And then they break their word to themselves, never go to the gym and have a heart attack at 50. And you're not carrying in like internal integrity on that issue, right? If you say, I'm going to work out every day and then you don't, you're still breaking your word. You're just breaking your word to yourself.
Yep.
And so no one else will see that other than you're not in the shape you'd like to be or whatever that, byproduct might be. But I think it's important for people to even think about that. Am I operating with integrity with myself? And am I operating with integrity with others? Because both are, I think, equally important. And in some ways, maybe operating with integrity with yourself is the most important, because if you can't be a man or woman of your word to yourself and treat yourself well, how are you going to do it for others?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't really like the way that you painted that, because it makes me feel bad about myself.
Well, at least you're operating with integrity and telling the truth.
But it's so true. It's so hard. So I'm a Christian. We've made that very obvious that you and I both are, and that like my life verse is Philippians 2:3, which says, "Be humble, treating others as better than yourselves." And so I've always operated from like, I am a man of integrity when it comes to the honor that I bring to other people, the promises that I make to other people. But when you explain that internal integrity, I lie to myself all the time. And that's a huge area of need in my life. And so
well, bro, what was funny is I was actually thinking about myself when I said that.
Yeah.
Because, I've made a lot of, and part of this comes back to, are you committed or are you interested in doing something? Commitment is moving a mountain with a shovel. It's if a wall collapsed on your kid, you'd dig them out with your bare hands until you were bleeding.
Yeah.
Like you wouldn't stop just because it was difficult. That's commitment.
Right.
When I say to myself, it'd be really good if you did 100 push-ups a day. My back's bad. I can't run, but man, I can easily do 100 push-ups a day. If I say that loosely, I'm not doing it.
Right.
But if I'm like, hey, I need to do this, I'm committing to this. This is why I speak. And it's having an internal conversation that is different. And I learned this from a guy who maybe, maybe operated with integrity, maybe didn't. David Goggins. But the way he spoke to himself, he did the things he told himself he was going to do. He did those things. Right.
Yeah.
And so I hear that voice when I am not doing my push-ups or not eating the way I want to eat, because my dad died very young from cancer, and I'm highly sensitive and aware of how important my health is for other people around me, not just myself. And so you internalized it about you. I was making it about me.
Yeah.
But the reality is, this is a part of the dynamic at play here is you can only control you.
Yep.
And that's a part of integrity that I've really honestly just learned in the last couple of years. You can't control anyone else. And so if
100%.
you punched me in the face and I chose to punch you back, I'm not being a man of integrity because I wasn't controlling it. Now I could say, well, yeah, but Kyle punched me, but that's not operating with true integrity. And that's true in business. If somebody does something to you in business, how you respond is what you control. And that's super important.
Yeah. Well, and I hope that people appreciate and listen to our podcast, because we try to just be honest, and we don't try to convince people that like, hey, we're talking about integrity because there's no two men on the planet with more integrity than Shane and I. That like we show up as broken individuals, always knowing and understanding that we have room to grow and get better. And one of the tests that I have for I guess like outward integrity is like if you haven't told someone no in regards to you being the best fit for them, you're probably not operating with enough integrity. And in my opinion, like my perspective on that is, if my goal is to serve people, there's always going to be somebody that I'm not best suited to serve. Always. Right. So the loan originator is like, no, I can help everybody. But can you the best? Like, is there a product that like you technically could do, but you've got a buddy down the road that like that's what they do and they're going to do a better job than you? And so one of my like just my litmus test has always been like, who am I saying no to based on caring about their outcome more than my income? And it's a tough question.
I think that another one that's a really good question to ask yourself is, am I ever uncomfortable with my responses? Because if you're not, you're probably not operating with integrity. Because perfect example, we have a tech partner that we met with on a call 2 days ago. And at the end, the guy was basically saying, Shane, tell me you're going to be around long term and tell me that you're going to upgrade in the future so I can go to my team to offer you a discount in the present. And I had to say to him, I can't tell you that.
Yeah.
I said, the reality is if our people don't complain about the level of the product in the future, we're probably not going to upgrade, because why would we do that? But I don't want you to think. And I said, I don't want to blow smoke up your ass.
Yeah.
But I just said, hey, I don't want to do that to you. And of course, his response was, wow, thank you for being honest. That actually helps me a lot, just be able to understand the playing field. And so those conversations aren't necessarily comfortable.
Right.
Telling somebody the opposite of what they're telling you they want to hear, verbally or non-verbally. But this goes back to your point. If I'm saying yes to everyone, if I'm only doing things that cause no friction, I'm probably not being truthful all the time.
Yeah. Well, and the bigger picture to this for me is, let's say that you didn't do that on Monday, right? Like the guy said, hey, do y'all think long-term you're going to upgrade? Like, are you a bad person if you would have said, yeah, dude, totally, like that would be the goal? No, but bro, what I would call sin, right? Other people can call it whatever they want. Like, it just takes that little willingness to be a little dishonest, and you've convinced yourself, like, what a big deal. It wasn't that much. And like, someone doesn't jump into an affair like that. You could look back and go, wow, that was a 4-year process to, like, at first I was super committed. Then my buddies convinced me to like go to a strip club, and I didn't tell my wife about it. And like, there's this natural progression of bigger and bigger lapse in honesty that then result in a big downfall. And so that's the way that I look at this stuff. And that's why, to me, what you did on Monday was so valuable, because those are the little things, right? Those are the layup drills that LeBron James still does before a basketball game. Best basketball player on the planet. He still practices layups. Why? Because the fundamentals matter.
Yeah, the little things make the big things. You don't meet people who are alcoholics that just one day decided to binge, right? And so I think that's really to your point. Now, let's make this practical for people that are in lending. You sit down with a potential referral partner. We all know that it's not easy to get deals. Even in the best of markets, it's not easy, or everyone would do it. Now, more people did it before when it was easier. But so you sit down and you've worked to get this meeting with an agent for 6 months. And they finally said, yeah, my lender is dropping the ball. I'm open. And they sit down and then they ask you several questions. Typically, are you willing to sponsor my Zillow account? Are you willing to do, take calls after hours, and something else about money, typically? Well, how do you answer that? Because I know that when you're operating, and again, the little things turn into the big things, and we can kind of extrapolate out how that looks. But you say, even though inside you're kind of going, oh, you're cringing. I got to pay for Zillow. I know how much that sucks, right? What I got pretty comfortable doing is saying, Kyle, first off, man, thank you for the meeting. And I really value your time. I've obviously been trying to connect with you for a while. I could do that. I could put in that effort with anyone, but I did it with you because I feel like we align. I got to be honest with you, man. This is a really hard question for me, because what I want to say to you is yes, 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 because I want to become your friend. I want to earn your business. But what I know is if all I ever do is try to earn your business, we're not actually building a friendship. And that's what I'm really looking for. And so here's my experience with Zillow. And you go, it sucked. It was this. It never turned anything. The agents would pass all the work to me and do none of the work. People don't want to talk to lenders. They want to get it into a home, and just tell the truth. Now that takes more effort than saying yes. So it's more
Right.
uncomfortable to do that. But at the end of the day, I've never, and I've done this a lot. I tell people, and I did a lot, tell people, no, I said, I'm not in support of that. And what I would also preface is, hey, I'm in support of you. I'm in support of supporting you. But like, that's not where I'm at my best. I don't see that. And we don't even know each other. And those clients are typically harder. And here's why. When you just open it up and you operate with transparency, people value that and they go, wow, thank you for being honest. Because what they get every other time is, yes, I love Zillow. And you're cringing inside and you don't love Zillow. So that's a very practical, answer to that. And then when they say, hey, well, are you available after hours, et cetera? You say, hey, listen, I'd love to say, yes, I'm available after hours. The reality is that most days the answer is no. Here's why. And then you pull out your phone and you say, this is Olivia Rose. This is my 3-year-old. Even just saying that gets me a little teary because I love this little girl. And what I made a commitment when she came out of my wife's belly was that I was not going to put myself before I put her. And so selfishly, I'd like to say yes, because again, for 6 months, I've been working for your business. I just can't do that. Now, here's what I do instead. You got to give them alternatives. And so you say, this is what I do. I operate so proactively that those things that you're typically calling me for after hours, we've addressed during the day. Now, I do take calls after hours, but it's not going to be every day. It's not going to be all the time. And it's not going to be when I'm on a date with my daughter. Again, when you just say the truth transparently, you make it about you. You say, this is why. And then you make it real. Well, people appreciate that.
But you did something else too that I want to make sure people understand, right? There's a proverb that says, where there is no vision, the people will perish. And in business, we're really good at barking orders. We're usually not very good at casting vision because, again, vision takes time. And so how many lenders have said, I don't really prefer to work after hours? And like, that's it. Well, that could leave a client super frustrated. But when you pull out your phone, you show them Olivia, you actually show them vision as to why your time is so sacred after hours. Well, now they look like the jerk.
Yeah.
To not go, oh man, I totally understand. We care, we value family too. And so that we could do a whole nother episode probably on like, how do we cast vision in conversations with people to get them to do what we want them to do instead of just trying to bark orders all the time. So that's super good, bro.
Well, and here's the byproduct of just doing those things. And I didn't do it all the time, and it's not easy. It takes more work to be a person of integrity than one that isn't. The byproduct is when I'm really comfortable saying no, I spend less of my emotional and mental capital on that portion of the conversation. And then I get to spend the majority of the time talking about the things I do well, the things I do say yes to. And then I'm sitting out with this agent saying, I don't want to start with Zillow. If we could, honestly, could we table that? Here's why. Here's what I do. I run 8 classes every week. I run them every night, and Saturday mornings twice. I've actually pre-recorded 4 different classes that I run twice a week each. These are all automated lead generation that I do to create 4 different buckets of business. 1, investors. I know, Susie at Keller Williams, it gets frustrating when rates go up and all of a sudden your pipeline dries up. Investors never go away. So I'm teaching classes, attracting new investors twice a week. 2nd, reverse mortgages. I have aging parents who don't have a pension. I'm extremely passionate about finding ways to age gracefully, and using your home is one of the best ways to do that. I teach 2 classes on that every week. And you go through this and you go, I'm generating organic leads myself so that I don't have to be relying on Zillow. And if you become a partner, and Kyle, my definition of a partner is somebody I want to have a cold one with. I think about texting outside of work just because you're in my brain.
Yeah.
And we do things together that are not necessarily work related. And then the work stuff is easy. And when you talk that way, they go, They instantly forget about Zillow. They don't care
Right.
about Zillow. They care about growing their business. They care
Right.
about generating leads. They care about making money. Zillow is what they believe is the easiest route to do that, until you have a moment of integrity, tell them you're not comfortable with that,
Yep.
that you practice that to the point where it doesn't take up a bunch of emotional capital. And then you spend your time, your best of time, explaining what you do very well.
So good. So, guys, what I'd love to close with is, I hope that just the word integrity, just the topic of conversation, created a angst in you. And it's not on us to know where that angst lies. We don't care where the angst lies, but as I do for me personally, listening to Shane give his definition for internal integrity, that I have some improvement to do and that I need to make a commitment to myself. And so I hope for each of you that you will leave this episode with a similar commitment in whatever area or aspect of your life it's required. Whether it's in mending your marriage, showing up better for your kids, or just having that extra conversation that's loaded with truth, even though it could put at risk that potential opportunity, your life will be lived so much lighter if you will begin to make these small decisions focused on integrity. And so, guys, this is part of why Shane and I created the collective. Because being an entrepreneur is lonely. Being a salesperson is lonely. And it's easy and fast to be convinced that you're doing it alone. Nobody understands you. You're experiencing something for the first time, and you need community. You need people around you that have been there, done that. They've gotten the t-shirt. They're sipping from the coffee mug. And let us teach you from our failure so that you don't have to do it yourself. And so you can go to thecollectivecoaching.com to find out more information. You can reach out to Shane or I directly. We'd be honored to have a conversation with you. What an episode, bro. Talking about integrity. And now I have to go work out more. So see you guys later. I got to get on the treadmill.
The greatest gift you can give to yourself is being comfortable knowing that you're not perfect.
So good.
Because that's where the process of refinement begins. Because if you can't be comfortable being imperfect, you're never going to admit where you aren't perfect.
Come on.
And that's where you build your integrity. It's where you build your branding. It's where you build good habits. And so for me, I was extremely insecure about being imperfect until just a few years ago. The weight that was lifted off my shoulders when I realized that I'm good enough, even fully flawed.
Yep.
Then you start to go, but what can I improve on?
Yeah.
And it's always the other side of the conversation that's the most exciting, the fun, that's the momentum building. The hardest part is when you're on the backside of the mountain, there's not a lot of sun, right? And so my challenge to the room today is just embrace imperfection.
It's good.
And embrace a little bit of self-criticism. And maybe criticism isn't the word that lands well for you, but we just got done watching the Olympics. And if you don't think those gold winners were extremely self-critical before they got to the Olympics, they would have never won the gold medal.
Yeah.
Perfection, which is impossible, but the goal to get to, like, the path to perfection starts with telling the truth and then refining yourself. And you do that through a little bit of self-criticism.
It's good. I thought I used to be the pastor, but you're preaching, bro.
Hey, let's go, bro. Let's go.
Guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time.